last one. The UN right now, I think, the Security Council is voting or about to vote on this Palestinian recognition resolution. How are you guys going to vote?
So, Matt, since October 7th, we have been pretty clear that sustainable peace in the region can only be achieved through a two-state solution with Israel's security guaranteed. And it remains our view that the most expeditious path toward statehood for the Palestinian people is through direct negotiations between Israel and the Palestinian Authority with the support of the United States and other partners who share this goal. We believe this approach can tangibly advance Palestinian goals in a meaningful and enduring way. We also have been very clear consistently that premature actions in New York, even with the best intentions, will not achieve statehood for the Palestinian people. Additionally, as reflected in the report of the admission committee, there was not unanimity among the committee members as to whether the applicant met the criteria of membership set forth in Article 4 of the UN Charter. Specifically, there are unresolved questions as to whether the applicant can meet criteria to be considered as a state. And Matt, as you also know, we've long called on the Palestinian Authority to undertake necessary reforms to establish the attributes of readiness for statehood, and note that Hamas, which is, as you all know, a terrorist organization, is currently exerting power and influence in Gaza, which would be an integral part of the envisioned state in this resolution. And for that reason, the United States is voting no on this proposed Security Council resolution.
Okay.
As an expert of the UN, I will also just so note that due to statutory requirements, such an admission of statehood would also require the United States to cease its funding to the United Nations. But the U.S. is committed to intensifying its engagement on these issues with the Palestinians and the rest of the region, not only to address the current crisis in Gaza, but to advance a political settlement here that we think can create a path to Palestinian statehood and membership in the United Nations.
All right, and then you said you believe, the U.S. believes that the most expeditious way to statehood is through direct negotiations. So, just to make sure, I just Googled expeditious. Marked by or acting with prompt efficiency. How many years has it been since Oslo? Isn't the most expeditious way to Palestinian statehood to have some kind of an announcement or a determination by the UN? Unless you don't really mean expeditious, because expeditious means fast.
We do mean expeditious, and we do not believe that the pathway through New York and the United Nations is the best path forward. And as I so noted, such action through the United Nations would statutorily require the United States to cease its funding to the UN. That's certainly not something we're interested in doing either. I take your point on the number of years it has been since Oslo, but this is something that we will continue to pursue because we so firmly believe that it is in not just in the interest of the Palestinian people, but it is a key tenet of establishing peace and security for the people of Israel as well.
Thanks.
Humaira, go ahead.
But also, what is the U.S. Alternative and the expeditious path to two-state solution then, if you guys have blocked this?
You've heard us talk about this pretty clearly, Humaira. We're continuing to press for a ceasefire, one that is coupled with the release of hostages, one that is coupled with the influx of additional humanitarian aid, and one that we hope can create additional conditions for broader diplomatic conversations that we think can lead to greater peace and stability in the region. This is a process. I will note that expeditious does not mean easy, but it is a process, and
but
we're
it
going
does mean fast.
But it is one that we're going to continue to work at.
Right, but you see, you're pursuing this mega deal in the Middle East, like Saudi-Israel normalization, and then tied to that is PA reform and the creation of a two-state solution. And let's assume for a moment that all of that would go swimmingly. Netanyahu has to agree to that, and he has repeatedly rejected to the creation of a Palestinian statehood. So can you explain how your alternative approach is going to prevail expeditiously or not?
Well, officials in Israel also know that further integration into the Middle East region can reap benefits for them and for the people of Israel. And so they recognize the work that is at hand and what is at stake. So we're going to continue to work at this. And in every conversation with our partners in Israel and other partners in the region who share a convergence on this idea, we'll continue to engage on this.
One last thing on this.
Yeah.
I mean, do you think that the creation, like the path for a Palestinian state at the UN, U.S. would veto this regardless of the timing? If this would come up again in 3 months' time, you would still veto it, or does it have anything to do with this particular moment in time?
I'm not going to preview our actions on Security Council resolutions down the line or get into hypotheticals. I think that would be pretty irresponsible. Speaking in the context of the text and the iteration that was on the table today. But again, I would echo what we have said pretty consistently, is that we do not think that actions in New York, even if they are the most well-intentioned, are the best appropriate path. We think the best path forward is direct negotiations between Israel and the Palestinian Authority, supported by the United States and other regional partners.
And the final thing is on aid. So over the last couple of days, both you and Matt this week have talked about an improvement on the overall humanitarian aid picture from Gaza. But could